Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Dawn Approach. Unfortunately, Mr. Daniel Fogg is out with injury or illness or both. And so it is left to myself and the lovely Dawn to take you through the races today, although we do have a very special guest coming on in a little bit to help us decipher this next, nearly week of racing. We're going to talk about the King George coming up this weekend and then move on to the Double G next week of Galway and Goodwood, where without declarations, as always, it's quite tough to find even runners, let alone winners, but I'm sure we'll get plenty. And if not, it'll be fun trying. How are you, Dawn?
I'm good. There's been a lot of water and horses between Royal Ascot and now, and what we've seen and what we've done and where we've been, and new champions and old champions back and everything else. So Double G next week, one of the most wonderful weeks of the year. And it doesn't matter whether we know who's in and who's out or whatever else. We always deliver. What was it? 20 winners, 21 at Royal Ascot?
22 winners, I think it was at Royal Ascot. Can't have been that many.
Yeah, and that wasn't, and all decks weren't even out then. So, I mean, we must have a crystal ball or balls.
We do. I think we do. Shall we start with in the flesh?
Well, in the flesh. In the flesh. I mean, he's just an enigma. He came from a very misty grey. As you said, the Curragh felt a bit beachy. Well, it felt a bit beachy when he came through the grey mist in the Curragh Cup. Tower of London. I mean, what a performance. What a dude of a horse. What a ride. What an absolute ride. And I sat there and I crabbed, stupidly crabbed, even though I had put him up, that, you know, Dubai may have had its toll on him, blah, 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 blah. Well, it certainly didn't, because, I mean, to come out like that and perform like that from the heavens, basically, and to do that at the Curragh was just incredible. And to me, that's probably one of the best flat races I'm going to see this year. And I was just, he made my bed, washed my clothes, and did all the other good stuff that you need doing. So Tower of London in the flesh, and everything else kind of comes second to that I seen over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive performance, apart from the guy in front of us that stood up and spoiled the finish. Literally 100 yards to go. 100 yards to go, he just stands up and walks past us, and we're like looking around him to see if he actually got there, and from miles back he did. I've been really lucky. I feel really lucky that since we recorded the last episode, which was just before Royal Ascot, which seems like an absolute age ago, we obviously were there at Royal Ascot. I've been to the Eclipse at Sandown, and just gone, obviously, the 2 days racing at the weekend at the Curragh. So there's been some very good horses. I've seen some great ones, and really nice to walk a few into the winners' enclosure. Obviously, City of Troy, that was pretty special. It was a strange atmosphere on the day. Everyone went really quiet as he came into the winners' enclosure. I don't know if the horse was just tired, or it was the fact that all the lads, as they call them, were there to see it, because they've been obviously raving about him for a long time. And yeah, that was a special moment. It was quite an emotional race, that, even though he didn't perform as well as I'm sure a lot of people think he could have and should have, but he still won. So it's another Group 1 after the Derby. So
you know my opinion on that, Rich, and I say another few strides. And I love City of Troy. I thought he was incredible at the Epsom Derby, and he will be some Derby winner that we'll talk about in years to come. But 𝗟𝗪𝗔𝗪𝗡 was just, he's such a cool horse. And I mean, what he did as a 2-year-old, and now he's coming back. And I have a few anti-posts now at the Arc for him. And I just thought another few strides, he had City of Troy. I honestly do. I believe that wholeheartedly. Some don't, some do. But 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏, the second.
don't
I know you're
know.
not supposed to talk about it,
Yeah.
but
I don't know if that's the case. If the race was run over 1.5 miles, then yeah, maybe. But it's difficult to know because of the pace they go and the speed they go and everything. But he travelled into it and looked like the winner until
there's a big
City of
weight
Troy just
difference too.
ground out a little bit more. Yeah, true. So that wasn't my selection. My selection for In the Flesh is actually Red Letter, who won at the Curragh on Sunday. She has an absolutely massive future. And I think we actually put her up as a sub on debut when she just got touched off. But Sunday, there wasn't a moment's worry, was there? I mean, she won by 4.5 lengths. She looked pretty damn good and she absolutely bolted up. And she's, proper top-class prospect. I think she's got entries in the debutante and the 𝗲𝗟𝗄𝗓. So, big things to come, definitely from her. And it was nice to see her in the flesh on Sunday. Before we go on the sofa, I think we have George with us. Can't see him. We can see him. Or we can't see him.
I can't see him.
Yeah, we can.
No.
Hello.
There he is. George.
He's here.
Oh, sorry.
King
I sat there
George
watching
himself.
for a bit, not knowing the video wasn't working.
No, the video wasn't on. I just saw George Gorman across the screen. I was like, oh, he's here. But yeah, welcome, mate. We're just going through our In the Flesh and on the sofa before we get stuck in for the weeks gone by, because we haven't recorded anything since Royal Ascot. So just having a quick chat about that. But how you been, mate?
Yeah, all good. So things at Gary's are sort of tipping away quite well. I think quietly having a very good season for us on the flat. Like the stand of horses has gone up quite a deal. I've had a fair bit of luck with my 2 flat horses. One won his first 3, and the other one won at Yarmouth the other day, was 5th in the Spring Mile. So we're tipping away quite well. I've just bought my pointer back into work last week, so there's that. There's the first time I've ever actually trained a horse in my own name. So that'll be.
Oh wow, excellent! Well, that's exciting.
Trainer, owner, jockey.
Trainer, owner, jockey. Yeah. Wow. Everything.
News.
Love it.
The legendary Larry, as people would know him from Gary Moore's.
We were going to ask about that. We wanted to touch on Larry because obviously life after racing's pretty important. Even though is he still going to race? Just not.
He is still going. Yeah, it was quite widely shared on the Jockey Club, something about him going to his retirement home or something. I said, oh, not actually. Yeah, he's going to run for one more season. But look, if he tells us at any point he doesn't want to do it, he'll be retired on the spot. Like, it's just, I don't think I think he's far from done. Like, he's won a race a season for the past 3 seasons since he's come back from his injury. Really, he's run a fair bit, but for an 11-year-old, it's not a huge amount. And he missed a year by Midnight Legend. I don't see any reason why he can't perform to, if not right up to his Sodexo Gold Cup winning best. Certainly, he ought to be able to win a point-to-point, you would have thought. So, but yeah, he owes me nothing. I've ridden him every day for 4 years at Gary's, and it'd just be a privilege to even get on his back in the paddock. So
exactly.
More than anything else.
Yeah, love that. And once like you say, he's had enough. You'll know, and you just hang up his boots, so to say. So but yeah, good luck with that. That will be. So you're training him for the point-to-points then?
Yes, I will be. It'll be a bit of a task because he always carried a fair bit of weight when he was running, and now we don't have the constant use of a gallop to get him fit. So it'll be interesting. He's what we call in racing show condition. I think you call it not summer ready with humans.
I see. Okay, yeah. So he's not quite bikini. He's not quite bikini ready yet.
No, exactly. No.
Love it. Okay, before we get on to the racing itself, we've got just to quickly go through on the sofa. And I think, Dawn, have you got anything for us that you've seen while watching racing in the last few weeks that sticks in your mind?
Oh, Christ. Well, you know, the old saying of a horse walks into a pub. We walked into a pub on the Saturday at Royal Ascot just before she ran. And then she ran again tonight. And she was, again, fantastic. Bedtime story. Mecca's Angel's daughter. I mean, and Frank the Tanks. She is the breeding of dreams, absolute dreams. And if anybody hasn't seen it, go on to Leopardstown social media and you'll see Aidan giving her a groom beforehand and talking about models, whatever size they are. You know, she knows she's gorgeous, and you know she knows she's that good. And like when I go off on my rants and I have my speeches, I gave a speech the other night about how this breeding concoction is probably going to be one of the best you have ever seen put together, and how good. And like her mum, I think she's going to keep progressing and progressing and progressing and getting better and better and better. And she's a unicorn. She is dreamy. And I also seen Black Heather in the bumper the other night at Ballinrobe. The horse will haunt me. The half sister is going over hurdles in over your side of the pond. But Black Heather packing a very good point-to-point jockey who rode Champ Kylie in his first point-to-point. He rode him in the bumper. No one wanted to know. They all wanted Willie's in the bumper. Willie's in the bumper pulled up, and Black Heather ran on, won by 3.5 lengths at 16-1. So Black Heather is one to keep an eye on wherever he goes next. And also the half sister, who's over your side, was supposed to be running today at Worcester but hasn't. And just a little shout to Reach for the Moon. Cliff. Never give up on your Cliff horse. And today he won by 10 lengths. The once Derby favourite going on over the hurdles. You love to see it, and you love to see him win.
Took his time, didn't he? Goodness me.
I mean, the best things do.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's true. The one from the sofa that I'm going to mention, because really sticks in the mind, was the horse of Crisford's, and it's 𝗋𝘪𝘨𝗪, who won the Summer Mile at Ascot a couple of weeks ago. The horse is clearly quite fragile because he's a 4-year-old and hasn't really run much, but clearly has tons and tons of ability. And I think they're obviously taking their time with the horse, and they're going to place him well. He does have an entry in the Sussex Stakes, but I'm not sure he's going to run there.
He hasn't declared.
He hasn't declared, no. So if he, probably going to wait for another Group 1, but he will be in a Group 1 very soon. And yeah, he was the horse that really stood out to me. Obviously, there were plenty at Royal Ascot and other race meetings as well, but that was the horse that really stuck in my mind for sure. I also wanted to just give a quick shout out to the 𝗂𝘁𝑛𝑟s, because you could have mentioned pretty much any one of their horses, because everything they're running at the moment seems to win. So yeah, on the sofa, every time I sit down and I flick through the races, if one of their horses is running, I've definitely got close eyes on, because they're on absolute fire at the moment. So yeah, a shout out to them and to everyone at Sarson Farm, because they're doing something right, that's for sure. That is everything for the past, and now we're going to try and predict the future. I've given everybody quite a lot of work and a lot of races to go through, as always, but I'm a hard taskmaster, so that's just the way it is. We have got declarations for Saturday and Ascot and York, so we've got 4 races on Saturday before we move on to next week's absolute bonanza. And like I was saying earlier, we had to get you on, George, because the initials of Double G, and we've got Galway and Goodwood and the King George, so it's only right to get Mr. George Gorman on the show to talk us through some of the races, isn't it?
Yeah, and Goodwood's 40 minutes from here, and my uncle runs a stable yard at Ascot, so it's all round. It's all connections everywhere.
Well, there you go. That means we definitely have got the right man for the job. Hopefully, you pick some winners out for us then. Are you going to be heading to Goodwood at all?
I'm going to try and go on Tuesday, because one of the horses I ride every day is running in the first. So okay. I'll be trying to go down and watch him. I think it should work. As long as I can get someone else to put Larry out in the field, it'll be all right. Yeah, mucking out will still be there too when I get home.
Yeah, that'll be done for you. Not done for you. That'll be there for you, waiting when you get back in after race.
No, I won't mind if he wins.
No, yeah, true. That's it. Well, let's start with Ascot on Saturday then. The first race we're going to look at is the 150 6-furlong Sodexo Live Princess Margaret Stakes, which is a Group 3 for 2-year-olds. Dawn, I think I've got a couple of selections in this, but I'll go to you first because I think one of them is one that you're going to give a good shout to.
Oh yeah, well, I broke it down to two, Rich, because I didn't want to just. It's sometimes what's not obvious but is obvious, and to me this is pretty obvious. I mean, I went back, I looked Sacred Angel, 𝗄𝗏𝗄, Princess 𝗂𝗏, 𝗂𝗏, 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏. A good few of them were big prices. Now this girl isn't a big price, but you told me earlier she's now gone to new owners as well. It's the very nice, very lovely daughter, Simmering, the daughter of Too Darn Hot. Ryan rides, and we were there for Fairy Godmother at Royal Ascot, and I loved Fairy Godmother, but I know Jamie Spencer actually thought he had won on Simmering, and we were lucky enough to speak to and have dinner with one of the past owners, Jeff, who also does Light Up for Racing. Anybody hasn't seen that, check it out, because it's very important and it's very educational, and we could all do with listening to it as well. But no, Simmering for me, I mean, she was so good in the Albany. She came so close, and to me she's the out and out winner. She's 7-4 at the moment, Rich, as far as I know, so I like her. And then Handcuffed at 6-1, Oisin gave a seriously good ride on her debut. The horse that was fourth to her, Bright Walton, actually runs at Sandown on Friday, tomorrow. This goes out Friday, but tomorrow. So Bright Walton runs as well. So it might be a good idea to keep an eye how she runs too. But so impressive on her debut at Newbury. And Oisin's ride, I mean, he swapped her out because he couldn't get out and just pointed her and aimed her and she was gone. So she's value at 6-1, but I'm all over Simmering.
Okay, yeah, she's 2-1. I think you can get biggest price, so nice price. I think that is. I was waiting for you to give the shout out to her, because even though she's a maiden, she did look like she had the Albany sewn up before. Ride of the week from Ryan Moore, swerving in and out on Fairy Godmother, managed to get up. So yeah, that would be my selection as well. And the other one I had picked out was Tales of the Heart, because, you know, Rafe Beckett trains, and we were at the Curragh for the Irish Oaks at the weekend, and we just never in doubt. He just knows how to train fillies and mares, doesn't he? He just does it all the time. And You Got To Me was a nice winner for the Brits over in Ireland, as I kept shouting.
Go on,
the
say
rail.
what you want to say, really.
Well, I'll say it because it doesn't.
Sofa moment for the weekend. It was that for me, because me and Hector literally, well, we met each other. Funny enough, in Newmarket at pony racing school, and met each other up there. Didn't realise we lived 20 minutes down the road from each other, and he started the week after me at Gary's. I think he was 14, I was 15. We lived together, we did everything together for years, and seeing him finally get that Group 1 win, not just a Group 1 win, a classic win,
yeah,
is incredible. So I'm not sure if he is I think he is underrated, to be honest, because he's well up to that level. Like he's not, he gets good rides in Group 2s, Group 3s, big handicaps, but he is that good. He really is that good. Like, he's so strong. And yeah, I had a little chat with him in the evening. He was absolutely over the moon. Like, maybe a bit emotional, for sure.
Yeah.
Really, really nice to see.
I mean, it was a great ride as well, because if you actually watch the race back, she was one of the first off the bridle, and she had to really bump her way through. There was a bit of a fight a furlong out as well, and managed to force her way through, and then she finished off strong. And she's run some good races this year, and that's obviously her best, and wins a classic. So
he made a comment to me that I can't exactly remember what it was. It made it clear that while he doesn't lack for affection for her, he's well aware that she has her little foibles.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's it. That's probably why I say that Rafe Beckett is the master, because he just does get the best out of these fillies. And I think this Tales of the Heart, who's currently 12-1, has good form in the book. Won a maiden on debut, second in a listed race, and beat Arabian Dusk, who then turned the tables in a Group 2 at Newmarket, I think, the Duchess of Cambridge Stakes. That was a strong race. And I think that at 12-1, she's probably a nice each way price. And Simmering probably wins the race. But if I was going to go with something at a bigger price than that, it would be her. So, George, have you got anything for us in this?
Yeah, pretty much copy and paste from you, to be honest. I looked at this race and I didn't think I was going to have a selection in it because Simmering, has best form on offer. 2-1 short enough for me. Usually, when you're looking at 2-year-olds, all improve at different rates and things. I sort of couldn't ignore the experience of 𝗋𝘪𝘪𝘵. Like, she was only beaten 3 1/4 lengths in her first go at Group 2 level. It's actually close to the best of these on RPRs. Obviously, given a bit tricky with 2-year-old races, there's limited evidence. I don't give them a big RPR first time out or anything like that. But I just think that experience could stand to her here, given only her, the favourite, and 𝗋𝘪𝘪𝘵𝗪 have group race experience in the field. And 𝗋𝘪𝘪𝘪𝘵 was fairly well beaten in her go at group level. It's really only her and the favourite that have had a go at group level, but they both acquitted themselves well. And I think certainly she shouldn't be the price she is. Should be my idea of an each way bet, sure.
Nice, yeah. Well, we agree on that, and it's always nice to do at the start. So Simmering and Tails of the Heart. Next race is the 2:25 1 mile Longines Valiant Stakes, which is a Group 3, and yeah, this looks really difficult to me. I was looking through, and there's so much like collateral crossover of form from different races. Couple of things to note was that Devoted Queen is clearly highly regarded because she was a non-runner in the Coronation, so she was entered up in a Group 1. And I probably also like to give Friendly Soul another chance because you must be liked a lot to go off odds on in a Musadora, and that speaks pretty big volumes. And she just didn't run a race. She hung terribly that day, and I think going back round the other way, going right-handed at Ascot, might help her, might straighten her out a little bit. Not sure, yeah, I think they're the two that I would probably give a shout to, but I'm not going to give anything with confidence in this because it just looks devilishly difficult for me. So I'll leave it to Dawn to give us the winner.
No pressure then either. Yeah, I go back again. Jumbly, Dreamloper, Lady Bowthorpe, Strawberry Daiquiri with Stouty and more. I mean, that was just such a great horse that you looked forward to seeing. But Devoted Queen is going to be the obvious here. Now, the reason why she didn't run at Royal Ascot was that she tied up. So that's why she wasn't in that race. The Filly Stakes at York, she was good, very, very good. And the horse Spiritual that was second to her won 2 weeks ago very easily at Sandown. So she's going to be the Saturday tipster and the Saturday pickers fav or whatever else. She's 11-4 at the moment. Doom, I quite like at a bigger price. It's just the weight that I question. Stayed on very well at Royal Ascot. Serona, she's the Frenchie. She's 4-1. She's a bit of value, but I'm going to go with Soprano here. I think the way she came out of Royal Ascot and then was third, a very, very good third, to Spiritual. Billy Loughnane, the man now, not Billy the Kid anymore, was class on her, absolutely class on her in the Sandringham. So I'm going with her again. They must have thought a lot of her the day that she came back out. Like, she was only 2 weeks after Royal Ascot to come out and be third again. She's 3-1 at the moment. To me, she's the value in here. I understand why everybody will go to Devoted Queen way, but I'm liking Billy Loughnane, the man, and Soprano at 3-1. And I think Doom, if the weight doesn't sink her, is worth each way play because the way she stayed on at Royal Ascot, I really liked.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to talk about this 3-year-old, 4-year-old allowance through this evening's podcast because there's always going to be this time of year where it's a crossover and it's a bit like, should they get it, should they not? I mean, George, you're probably better placed than I am to give an opinion on that because, like, we'll talk about the Sussex later and I can reel off 3-year-old winners, as easy as you like because they just seem to, they get the weight, but should they still be getting the weight? I don't know if that's,
It's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight, but I think for sure in middle distance events it could probably be less. I don't see why you're talking the difference between a 5 furlong sprint and a 2 mile race.
Yeah.
You're talking like over double distance, where there is 120% of the distance. The weight for age is insane. I know that sounds complicated to implement, but by definition, the longer you're carrying the weight for, the heavier it gets. And I think it'd be harsh for horses that might only be 4 to suddenly be carrying 9.5, not whatever round over a mile and a half. Whereas over a sprint trip, it probably doesn't make quite so much difference. Would be my view on it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that would be my sort of approach on that. With regards to this race, just touch on your friendly soul tip. A lot of the money is going to be for Devoted Queen, but I have just heard on another podcast that we don't need to name that Ruby Walsh and 𝘗𝘰𝘥𝘬𝘪𝘵𝘪𝘵 both tipped up Friendly Soul. So if you are interested in that horse, I'd say the sooner the better, because that particular podcast can move markets.
Okay.
𝘗𝘰𝘥𝘬𝘪𝘵, obviously a great judge. And
when do they go out?
Huh?
When do they go out with theirs?
I think the podcast's up already, so it'd be by the time.
They edit quicker than me.
Once the ball gets rolling, it can snowball quite quickly. But that's just my little take on him. But I'm with Soprano as well. I think the Sandringham wins close to the pick of the form here, and given she's been raced almost exclusively on good or good to firm ground, and the sort of lack of pace in the race the last day, I think we can forgive her for getting beat a length and a half in soft ground subsequently. You were talking about the interlocking form lines. How much you want to set by this, I don't know. But Sirona's career best was a 4 1/4 length defeat to Porta Fortuna last time. Soprano was only beaten 3.5 lengths by the same horse back in September, and has had a win up since, which has obviously brought about improvement. So it's dodgy taking collateral form with horses this young when you've had nearly a year. But some people might find that interesting. And Soprano also receives weight for age from that horse here, as we were saying, and the favourite. And the favourite, while unbeaten and unexposed, still has to prove herself at this level. So I'm with Soprano.
Yeah, nice. I'll be getting my few quid on Friendly Soul now then before price moves. But she's currently 5 to 1, I think. So probably go off 3s. Anyway, the next race we'll be covering is the big one of the day, and that is the 340 1 mile 4 King George VI and Queen Elizabeth 𝘗𝘃𝑦 Stakes Group 1. This looks like a proper vintage renewal for me. I'm gutted that I'm not going to be able to go because I've got other things to be doing, but I was hoping I was going to maybe be able to get there, but not. But I'm desperate to see Rebels Romance in the flesh, and I was hoping I would be able to, but not this time. He's a 5-time Group 1 globe-trotting superstar. He's won races in 6 countries, I counted, so far in his career, which is insane. Joint highest rated as well with our good friend Gussie. And I think if he turns up on top form, then we'll take some stock in, I think. But if he does falter, then we've been given the speed ratings by our new expert in that field, Josiah, for DigiTips, and he thinks that Sunway, with getting the weight and all things considered, is a cracking price. I think it was 12 to 1 at the time that he mentioned it. Just looking now, I think the horse is still 12s. So he says that that's far too big. I'm not here to argue with him. So at an each way price, I think getting that 3-year-old allowance, good second in the Irish Derby last time, and probably a decent each way bet. But I hope to see Rebels Romance pick up another Group 1. Dawn, I think you're going to go against me, aren't you?
Yes and no. I mean, how, in the name of God, Sam Crow, and everything is good, that Rebels Romance, which we did tip up at 28 to 1 for the 𝘗𝘂𝑦 Classic when he went off at that, because everybody's head was turned by Gussie, August Rodin. But I mean, there's no denying what Rebels Romance has done. He's incredible, and he is a globe-trotting king for the King George. What I will say about it is that he has not run at Ascot. That is the one question there. That's a big question mark. He hasn't, whereas some of them have. And you can say with Gussie, well, yeah, are we doing going back to the corner where I pulled up last year? But then we seen what he did at Royal Ascot, and he was basically cheesing going across the winning line when everybody doubted him that day, because they went, oh, well, you know, he's a moody little shit. Do we know what 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘵𝘪𝘵 is going to turn up? But I mean, he's a great horse. He really, really is. You go back, Hookham, Pile Driver, 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏, Highland Real, postponed, Nathaniel. Now, unfortunately, because you know I love my fun family facts, there is no one by and or out of the previous winners. Not one. So I was disappointed in that. I thought I could make a family case in here. 𝗋𝘪𝘥𝘐, I do agree with Josiah. If you're having a bit of 𝗋𝘗𝑑𝗪𝗏𝗥 in the arc, which everybody seems to not be looking past 𝗋𝘗𝑑𝗪𝗥, well, himself, Sunway, has, you know, the 𝗋𝘗𝑑𝗪𝗥 form. He's got Rosalian form, which Rosalian we'll talk about for Goodwood. He seems to be turning everything to gold, and the lovely Los Angeles. And I mean, if you go back and look at the Irish Derby, the way Sunway ran on at the end, I had a lovely bit of a forecast that day. You look at last year, Hookham won, Westover came very, very close. Westover came very, very close in the arc. So, I mean, if you're already thinking that far forward as well, could Sunway do something like Westover did? I think so. I think he's definitely worked each way play. Blue Stocking, I mean, she's just great. She's a great girl. Rossa was superb on her at the 𝗗𝘪𝘥, and we were talking about Hector there, Rossa as well. Although Rossa is very much Irish, to be able to ride the 𝗗𝘪𝘥, you can ride anywhere, because we've seen so many jockeys mess up at the 𝗗𝘪𝘥 too. It's not their fault. It's just such a tricky track, and you can get found out so quickly. So, I mean, Blue Stocking, she's been second at Ascot before. She's been third at Ascot before. My luck, see, I'm definitely going to have each way play on him. He's 12-1. He was brilliant in the Coronation Cup. He just keeps improving. He's 5 now. I still stand by, and I'm probably going to swallow my words then with 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘵𝗪𝘏 Rodan, that I thought he could have won the Irish Champion Stakes last year, and then he did a bit of globetrotting and he kept getting touched off as well. So to see him get his Coronation Cup, to see Ryan Moore do a Ryan Moore masterclass. So if I'm going to have each way play, it's going to be on 𝗋𝘗𝑠𝑖 and it's going to be on Sunway. But I think Gussie wins this, and he wins it easy.
Easy?
Mood or no mood?
I think easy.
Easy.
Wow.
Rebels
Okay.
Romance, I don't know, because he hasn't been to Ascot. I respect what he's done. He's incredible. But I don't think he wins this.
No,
I don't think he's a King George horse.
Interesting. I think easy's if he does win it easy, then well, but I'm not sure he will. But what do you think, George?
This is one of my strong opinions. This is a hill I'll die on in racing, and it's that 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘏𝑥 Rodan doesn't have a mood. I can't have it. I can't have it. It's there in the stats. He's 3 from 3 on ground faster than good, 2 from 4 on good, 3 from 6 on worse than good. He's just a bit ground dependent. He's a much better horse on faster ground. I was speaking to my uncle earlier today, who obviously lives in the owners and trainers car park. He runs the stable yard there at Ascot, and a lot of the rain we've had in the southeast has missed Ascot. So I'd say the ground change today was probably where they were watering in case they missed the rain. They won't mind this going quick now. And the next 2 days, we've got no rain. It's about 21, 22 degrees, slightly overcast. So you know there's going to be a breeze. It's ideal drying weather. I think 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘏𝑥 Rodan just going to win this. I forgive him. Not only was the defeat to White Birch on good to yielding, White Birch had a couple of runs. It was his 3rd run of the season, and 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘏𝑥 Rodan was coming back from Meydan. I always treat that first run back from Dubai as the first run of the season. So then with a run under his belt, he was very impressive in the Prince of Wales. I just think he wins this. He's the best horse here. Rebels Romance, obviously, you have to respect, but he does have £3 fine with him on RPRs. although he's only 6, he's coming off the back of 3 consecutive RPRs of 120 or above. So you've got to say, although he's 6, he is at his peak right now. My worry again, like I just said, my worry about horses coming back from Maidan for their first run in England. Despite these horses that suit these Middle Eastern racing, they don't tend to suit both. They either suit British and Irish racing or they suit Middle Eastern racing. It's so different. The ground's different. The races are run different. And it takes a very, very good one to be good at both. But I still always think there's a preference. So I just worry whether this excellent international form is going to transfer in, on his first start in the UK since a listed win at Kempton in December. It's not just that he hasn't won a Group 1 in England, or he hasn't run at Ascot. He's not won a group race in England yet. Like it's too much of a question for me to leave him alone. Although you've got to respect Charlie Appleby's flying. Like, I think his strike rate went up to about 44% today. And I think his runners to form is in the high 50s, low 60s. Like he's doing very well. But I'd be siding with 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘵𝗪𝗏, and I totally agree on something receiving all the weight. He's priced up as if the Irish Derby was a fluke. I don't think it was. But to me, with the quality of horses he's placed up in there, I can't see him winning it. But certainly, Luxembourg's probably going to go too quick. Maybe, say, if Blue Stocking then doesn't stay, or Rebel's Romance completely doesn't take to this type of racing, it leaves you at least third to play with, maybe even second and third. But I can't see him beating 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘵𝗪𝗏. Like you're talking, you need 3 horses to blow out for it to win. So he's a place only bet for me.
Yep, I think that's fair. Getting the weight obviously helps, but not quite in the class of the others. Okay, 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘵𝗪𝘏 does it then easily, according to Dawn, and probably for George as well if the rain stays away. The next race we're covering is the last race of the weekend from us, and that is over at York, or up at York, and that's the 3:15, 1 mile, 2.5 furlongs Sky Bet York Stakes, which is a Group 2, and Passenger is back. He's 9-4. 9-4 should be 6-4, surely. I know he's got to give weight away to all the rivals, but I would make him shorter come race time for sure if he gets there, because we all know he's had his issues and he's a real fragile horse. But we were lucky enough on the same day that we met and had dinner with Simmering's former owners, we were also able to have a little chat with people who work with the 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘏𝗏 family, and it was mentioned that the horse it was a setback, but it wasn't a major injury. He would definitely be okay to run again this season. And after breaking the course record at Chester last time, I think this could be a stepping stone then onto great things to then finally, hopefully in the future, getting Group 1 success, which I think he probably deserves on his CV. So I will be all over him. He's obviously was one of my horses to follow for the season. And then as soon as I put him up as a horse to follow, he duly got injured. So probably my curse on him, but hopefully, fingers crossed, all is well and he can get his season off to another win. Dawn?
I said I'd let you do your spiel on Passenger because I know how much you adored that horse and you've been waiting for him to come back. And I mean, that he have a winner anywhere just makes me smile, because again, it's kind of like what we say about Dermot Well now. There seems to be a little bit of a lack of respect or whatever now for the greatness that was achieved and what he has done in the past. I mean, nowadays people forget 2 years ago, never mind 20 years ago. But just my little thing on that is that Stouty is amazing, and if he can get this done, it will make my Saturday really. It's not going against the horse though, so that's kind of putting everything else. You've got 𝗗𝗗𝗪𝗏, who is back again for more, who won it last year. And I actually quite like King's Gambit. Now, interestingly enough, 𝘗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝗪𝗏 is up on King's Gambit, who he beat when he was on 𝗗𝗣𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗄 in the Hampton Court. So, I mean, he's a low weight. He's 7-2. He also, when he won easy at Newbury, 𝗋𝘗𝗪𝗏 was fourth to him, and 𝗋𝘗𝗪𝗏 won 2 weeks ago. He was supposed to go to Ascot too, but didn't, but then went one. Again, the form has been franked. So I just want a little bit of value in here. Harry Charlton, 7-2. 𝘗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝗪𝗏 is up. I smile anytime 𝘗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝗪𝗏 gets his winners, and I'll never forget his speech at Royal Ascot. So I think King's Gambit here is value.
King's Gambit should have won at Ascot as well. I think that ride was a little bit poor in my eyes, but I don't ride horses. George does. So who wins this one, George?
Yeah, again, before I start on mine, I'm afraid I'm going to throw fairly sizable rock at King's Gambit, I'm afraid.
Ooh, okay.
So look, he should have won at Royal Ascot, and if it probably wasn't William Buick's finest moment in the saddle, and we've got to take him on face value there. That was a very good run, but you've got to think a lot of the hype around him was due to not just how he won the London Gold Cup, but the fact that he won the London Gold Cup, a race with a huge pedigree of producing like group level horses. However, this particular renewal, I know we just said 𝗋𝘗𝗪𝗏's come out and won since. He won a handicap of 100, which is reasonable. But amongst them, the 13 runners have run 19 times since and have managed 3 wins between them. One was a handicap of 100. The other 2 were handicaps of 77 and 78. It's not working out.
Wow. Yeah,
And
that's not great.
he did
That's
batter
a
them.
massive rock, George.
Yeah. He did batter them, but it was a poor race. And I think you've got to factor it in here. Like, I'm glad to see he's sort of out to 7-2 now, because he was much too short for me earlier in the week, but I have to see him do it at this sort of level first. And that's why I'm with 𝗗𝗪𝗨𝗪𝗏. He gets a marginal call for me. Like, it was a good comeback in the Prince of Wales, really, after 283 days off the track. He's only beaten 3 3/4 lengths by 𝘗𝘰𝘥𝘄𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵. He was squeezed to the rear at the start, which wouldn't have been the plan. He met substantial interference twice on the run-in. His last 5 starts have all yielded RPRs of 117 or above, which is damn near good enough to win this. And you've got the potential for improvements. His career has been so stop-start. This is the first time in a while he's been able to string 2 runs together. So he's got a run under his belt. He might even go on a bit. I just think that the potential for a bit of improvement, the fact that he's already at the level potentially to win this, and hopefully a clearer passage this time, I think it makes him a huge player, especially receiving weight from the favourite. That'll be big as well. I think he rated £1 higher than Passenger and £3 higher on RPRs. He's well clear of King's Gambit on both. Obviously, have to concede him a lump of weight, but again, I take the proven group form on this occasion. I think he's real value.
Okay, nice. So we're covering the field almost now. Now Royal Rhyme will go in and win, won't it? Yeah, so bit of a difference of opinion there, but I think it's a difficult one with the weight and all of that. But I just hope Passenger just proves me right, goes off 6-4 or shorter and just wins. Dawn, did you have anything before Tuesday, or do you want to save that till after?
If you want me to, well, I've got, you see, we're gonna otherwise we're bouncing in and out of Galway and that, but I do have one in the handicap at 3 o'clock at Ascot on the Saturday.
Well, there you go. If you've got one, give it to us now.
Well, who's a very nice weight and ran very well last time is Fresh. I think he has a very good chance, but at a bigger price. And you know where I'm going to go with this. It's a Watnam again. It's Mate Me King, who won last time, who was good to us in Dubai, who came from that Arcana sale, and he's 14-1 fun. I think he's got a good bit of weight now, and he's got a penalty after his win. But at 14-1, I'm still going to be going in. But I do like Fresh. I think Fresh has been coming so close and so close. I honestly think Fresh wins this. 3 o'clock at Ascot, that handicap.
You tell me every time, don't give me handicaps, don't give me handicaps. And then I don't give you a handicap and you still pick one in the race. Incredible scenes.
I've actually got one in the race, if that's all right.
You can give it to us now.
Yeah. This is a bit of a favourite of mine. It's 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡. He ran on really well from off the pace to be beaten 3/4 of a length in a really frustrating 𝘋𝘰𝘥𝘢𝘢, where I managed to back the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 5th with my 3 shots at the race. I actually put up on the final furlong. I put up 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡 at 14s 2 weeks before the event. That was the most competitive handicap of the year. How do you get it so wrong and yet so right and yet so wrong?
Yeah.
But 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡 was 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡 was back from 14s into 4s, I think, in the end. 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡's come from miles back, having been outpaced so early, to only be a head behind him, and his backlot defeat was out of the question. It was enough to earn him a joint career best RPR of 109 and a £3 rise in the weights, taking him to a career high official rating of 103. So on the face of it, well, he's waited up to the hill. What's he going to do? This is 5 years of age, the first time he's made the step up to 7 furlongs. You'd have to say on his last 2 runs, he's been basically outpaced and running on late. The only concern for me with him is he's drawn 3, where he might run into traffic back there. But the fact that he's going up in trip, if he runs into trouble, he's going to have the speed to get out of trouble. That's the most important thing. You don't want to be stepping down in trip and be sort of bunched up and surrounded by horses, because you can't get through those gaps. This horse has got speed, but he's obviously just a bit less than he did last year. I think step up in trip could well draw some more out of him. He'll be able to hold a position better. I think in a race like this, it's hard to find an improver. He hasn't been overly punished by the handicapper. And I think this horse is a sort of sneaky improver at 5 years of age with the step up in trip. And plus, it doesn't hurt. He's been to Ascot 3 times. He has a win and a narrow Royal Ascot defeat to his name from those 3 starts. He does like it there. And I think he was 8-1 yesterday before the decks came in. He's 11-2 now. I still think it's each way thievery with the extra places. I think he's got a chance of winning, and you get your money back if he doesn't. So I think he's just a really solid each way bet, to be honest.
Okay, nice one. Thank you. We'll move on to next week, and that is Goodwood and Galway. We will start with Monday at Galway, and that is in the Connacht hurdle. And Dawn, I think you've got one here. I haven't, and I don't think George has either. So we'll leave this one to you. So yeah, go for it.
Betting.
Exactly.
George is Irish too, and so do you, and you're not even looking at the Connacht hurdle. It's a disgrace.
I think a mate of mine owns number 23, so we'll have him.
There you go.
There you go. That's it. Win. Down the road, across the way, near the black cat in the hedge. The usual direction. So the Connacht hurdle, Echoes and Rain has won this before Princess Zoe. You've got good dual purpose horses have come out of this, but 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡, we were at the cover for the Corinthian Challenge, and Megan O'Leary won on 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡. Now he was 3rd to Look in the Morning in that fantastic Boodles that cracks everybody up every year of who's going to win, but he won very impressively. And if people watch how Gordon trains, some of them come out of, even if you remember the great 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡, he came out of a charity race and then went and won at Cheltenham. I think 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡 has a solid chance in here, should he declare. Then Mordor is one of the reserves. Now he's 10-10, but obviously with some of them coming out, the weight will go up. He's won 2 on the bounce. He was originally with Andrew Balding. Now he's over here. I like him lower at the weights. And Harry Fry, who's not afraid to send some over and seen a few are all pilfering us at the moment. The good old 𝗋𝘕𝗍 is entered in here too, so I think he's a bit of interest. But I'd watch the weights. I think 𝗗𝗏𝗪𝗡 will come close with the way that he ran in the charity race last week, and if 𝗲𝗏𝗪𝗏 gets in, 𝗲𝗏𝗪𝗏 will run a mighty race.
Okay, well, I've just flicked through it, and I'm still none the wiser. If I was going to have any money on anything, it would probably be 𝗗𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝗪𝗏. But we'll move on to the Tuesday at Goodwood, and the 225 Hong Kong Jockey Club World Pool Vintage Stakes Group 2. It's a good race, I think. This Dawn, who have you got for us?
Well, I always try when I come away from a race day and I've seen something that's caught my eye. I always post what's caught my eye in the start of the day. And what caught my eye was at the 𝘗𝘪𝘨 a couple of weeks ago. He was with Carbon. Who was he with? The striking Viking originally.
Midland.
Well, no, I know he's with Midland, but the trainer has changed.
Oh, it was Kevin Ryan?
He's now with Watnam's. He was with Kevin Ryan. He's now gone to one of Watnam's other trainers. Now,
yes.
I don't know what sum he was sold for, but he was brilliant. I honestly thought he was going to beat Henry Matisse at the 𝗗𝘪𝘨. So he caught my eye. He caught a lot of people's eyes, and he caught Watnam's eyes that came knocking, and they have him now. He's 4-1 at the moment. And if the same horse turns up that turned up at the 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘨, he will be very hard to beat, I think. Now, the money is coming for the Partynan of Aidan O'Brien's, Button's full brother. Button's managed to win one race, and he won his maiden at Gowran. He's so wonderful's half brother too. I'm not really fussed on him. I'm actually going against the Irish. I do like as well in here at value 7-1, and we're saying about Charlie Appleby's strike rate at the moment. Amori City at 7-1 kept on very, very well behind Whistle Jacket. I mean, nothing was catching Whistle Jacket into July Stakes, but this horse I thought was very, very good. And his win at Nottingham in June, I thought he'd actually go closer to Whistle Jacket in the July Stakes. He didn't. So I am going to stick to what I said, because that tweet will come back and haunt me otherwise. Just haunt myself. I don't know whether anybody even seen it. But the striking Viking, I think he's going to be hard to beat. And I like Amori City at value. Okay.
Interestingly, on the Racing Post, Doyle is jocked up on both Catalyze and Electrolyte, because obviously Watnam just stick Doyle on, but he's not jocked up on the striking Viking. I don't know if that means that he's not going to run, or if they just haven't updated it. I don't know. That's not for me. That's for the people at the Racing Post. Amori City, you say, I think the nature of Goodwood being quite quick might find him out, because he just looked a bit outpaced against Whistle Jacket. I'm not sure. He'll probably be running on at the end. I'm just not sure if Goodwood is the right track for him. The horse that I was interested in that is only 8-1, I was hoping for a little bit bigger, is Cool Hoof Luke, who we put up at Royal Ascot. And so many of the horses that the speed ratings and the trends agreed on at Royal Ascot have come out since and won. And he was another that was picked by both when we did our selections for Ascot for the members. And he ran really, really well in the Coventry Stakes. And I think hopefully the track will help him settle a little bit better. And if he gets a good draw, could get the slip on them and run a big race. And 8-1, I was hoping for double figures, but I don't know. There might be a bit of a drift. I probably wouldn't back him at 8s. But if he drifts to 10s or bigger, I might have a little play. So, George?
This is a bit too tricky for my liking. There are 10 horses in here that have recorded RPRs of over 100, and most of them have run 2 or 3 times. Striking Viking probably ought to win, but they're all improving at different rates, and I couldn't in good conscience put any money on this race. I'm up back my horse in the first, Magic Memories, and sit this one out.
There you go. I like it. I like it. Magic memories in the first, and then get yourself a beer with the profits and just watch this one.
He won't be out of the extra places, and he's 16-1. I think he needs one to come out.
Okay. All right. Well, fingers crossed. There's a few noms for you. You get in. Dawn's frantically writing it. Dawn's frantically writing it down and logging into her Paddy Power right now. Okay. The next race will be the 3 o'clock Hong Kong Jockey Club World Pool Lockinge Stakes, which is a Group 2. And who's in here? Audience. Am I allowed to say that? Am I allowed to say that I tipped him at 50-1? That I've tipped him at 50-1 on here for the Lockinge? You know, I'll have to live off it for a little bit longer. I'm not really
living off it.
I'm not one to boast, but I actually think he's probably got a half decent chance here as well. He's not 50-1, but dropped to 7 furlongs. I think the track will probably suit as well, and he travels into it again. But last time he was a bit disappointing, and they didn't employ the proper front running tactics. So maybe the Lockinge was a fluke, and it was literally you're going to be pacemaker, and they just didn't catch him. So I am actually going to tip another 50-1 shot in this though. So audience I like, but I think Socialite is upped in if the horse runs. 50-1 seems a bit big, upped in class, but again, running style will suit. If he gets rolling, it could be hard to stop and hard to peg back. And he was really, really well backed. I think he was 9-1 into 9-2, and ended up going off 6-1 in listed class last time. So he's obviously well thought of. They obviously think he works well at home if they stick in that amount of money on him. But he was really, really keen, and just didn't run his race, didn't finish his race. So hopefully, if they go a little bit quicker at Goodwood, help him settle a little bit better. And the 3-year-old allowance also, as we keep saying, could help him spring a little bit of an upset if he does run. And I think he's 50s, so worth an each way play. George?
Yeah, I've got a massive soft spot for Noble Dynasty. He may be a 6-year-old, but he's a 𝗗𝗪𝗥𝗢𝗔𝗖𝗛 half brother to Barney Roy. His last 2 starts, he's produced career best both times. Firstly, really important to remember, he not only beat English Oak with ease, who then went on to win at Haydock and in the Buckingham Palace at Royal Ascot in his next 2 starts. That horse went up £18 for those 2 wins, which means at the time, Noble Dynasty was giving £15 to a horse that was £18 well in, and he beat him.
Yeah,
that's a monstrous achievement. I think a repeat of that. The next time he repeated that over the same trip on the other Newmarket course, he won the Criterion in great style. He goes on quick ground, he goes on good ground, and he gets to reoppose English Oak here now, just rated just £2 higher, but on level weights.
Yeah.
having given basically £33 to him, essentially.
Yeah, fair enough. That's
the last time they met and a beating. I think audience is here because he can't win the Sussex Stakes.
Yeah.
Can't see anything in form suggests he should be dropping to 7. English Oak is the handicapper who has to prove himself in group company. Kim Ross is probably the best of these on his day, but he's getting older and he's not shown a whole lot this year at all. Once you put a line through a few of those, I think 𝗋𝗪𝗪𝗏 is hugely overpriced as an each way chance as well. Like he's a twice a Group 3 winner over 6 and 7. Recorded an RPR of 116 both times, including in the John of Gaunt over this trip last time. And he comes here in great form, which a lot of the ones above him don't. I think, yeah, I just think he's hugely overpriced when you can pick holes in a lot of them. Like I said, I'm mad keen on Noble Dynasty. I think he'll win, but I think 𝗋𝗪𝗪𝗏 could even be second to him.
Nice one. Dawn?
Well, I don't like going for the obvious, but I mean, Kinross has won here before. He has won this race before, and I have followed him across I say basically the world, but when I have my little romantic trip to myself to Paris Longchamp in October that I always live for, Kinross is always there. And look, he won the Sprint Stakes at Ascot. He was second the year after. He's fresh and he's ready. Second in the Prix La Forêt. it didn't go his way that day. I mean, I was all over him in the Prix de Forêt. I think with Rossa up, he's 3-1, and I think he just, I'm gonna say it again, easy. Now it's saying good to soft there. I don't know if it is good to soft. I'm just taking what they're saying. Art Power, and I know he's the Curragh King. He's 25-1 here. I know he likes it soft, but he ran a great race behind Millstream. Like, I thought at one stage he had stolen it from, but then he got necked for third. 8, the only time that he was to Goodwood was when he was 8 in 2021 in Group 2. So I like Art Power at 25-1. I think he's worth the each way play, but Kinross wins this for me.
Easy as well, you say?
Easy. And I am with George a little bit about 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏. I think he is a bit forgotten because, I mean, for him to come back after having his mishap and then going out and winning the way he did, he always runs his races, you know, so he's your little bit of value. But Kinross, for me, I think this is his race to lose, basically. And I know he's getting a bit older, but look, what do we say about fine wine and smelly cheese? It only gets better with age. So
okay, Kinross for you.
Yep.
The 3:35 is the 𝗗𝗪𝗏𝗥𝗢𝗔𝗖𝗛 Goodwood Cup Stakes Group 1. 𝗔𝗣𝗏𝗏𝗪𝗡, who won this on soft ground in 2021, ran a strange race in 2022, like ran really free, and I think got a little bit headstrong, and Ollie couldn't quite hold him back. And 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝘪𝘵 beat him that day in an absolute classic with 𝘗𝘪𝘨𝗪𝗔𝗪𝗏𝗥 in second, just denied. It's amazing to see 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵 back to his best, winning the Gold Cup. And I think it's pretty easy for me just to say, I mean, it's lazy and boring, but it, you know, 4 on the bounce for the season, unless something really shocks us and 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵 just wins. I think for the Gold Cup, I just said 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵, and that was all I actually said. And then obviously he won. So, George, do you like in this?
Yeah, I think 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵 probably does win. The only thing I'd say is, I wouldn't say he's back to his best. It was his best performance since his injury. He's still probably 4 or 5 pounds below that very best. The thing that made it back the best since his injury is the fact that he reversed with Cavalryman, really, for me. The only difference here is the likes Coltrane, Sweet William, Gregory. I think where they're worried about their own stamina, they couldn't take him on at Ascot. They wanted to make sure they stayed, and a few of them didn't. They might be more confident that they'll stay this time round, and they might give him something to think about early. Even if they don't, just dropping back in trip for a horse of 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘨's age and injuries might be that he needs 2.5 now. I'm not saying he's going to get beat, but I'm saying at 8-13, it's enough for me to watch him win. The one I have dug out is 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏. He can't win this. He's a place only bet, but he's got an official rating of 112, RPR of 117. He hasn't got a whole lot to find with horses half his price here. His last start of last season, his first of this season, both saw him narrowly beaten by Hamish, who would go on to finish second in the Coronation Cup. Probably even more eye-catching than that is that he beat Blue Stocking in Chester in September. Like, those races are all over mile 4. He had a go up in trip previously. He went up to a mile 6 and won a Group 2 at Longchamp on very soft ground. The 3 subsequent attempts at staying trips were less successful. The first one was straight after the win. It was at the end of a long season where he'd sort of had 3 runs in the winter, and then about a month break, and then about 7 runs in a row through the summer. You could say he was feeling it a bit. And then the other 2, to go back to my old thing, the other 2 were in, I think, Meydan and Riyadh. And so I think for stayers more than any other horse, that can be a difficult thing to adapt to. The fact they're giving him another go, not just up in trip, but the furthest trip he's run over so far. Connections, obviously, I would have thought would have the same excuses for those runs that I have. And I just think with that collateral form with Hamish and Blue Stocking, if this does draw a bit more out of him, he can certainly finish second or third. Like some of these ran real bad at Ascot, really, really bad. And fair enough, they probably didn't stay. I'd rather take a chance on a horse who I think might improve for the trip rather than get away with it. And I think 𝗗𝘰𝘥𝘤𝘪𝘵 might be able to creep into the 3.
Dawn, who do you like in the Goodwood Cup this year?
I adore 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝑒, and I mean, I know, yes, it is the obvious, and yes, I do agree with George that he is coming back to his best, and his very best was Royal Ascot. I mean, he nearly took 3 people out of it when he came back into the parade ring. Quick Turn last year, which he stole the show. 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝑒 the year before. Strad, Orange, Yates. Now, said they want to be the next Yates. So, you know, they're going here and they're going here fighting. I'm still awaiting and crying and bemoaning my nap from Royal Ascot, which was Queenstown, who I haven't seen since he was a non-runner, who kept coming very, very close to King 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝑒. He's the obvious choice. I do like Sweet William in here too. I know you and Danny kind of, and especially Danny, dug me out about him and said, no, he hadn't got a chance in the Gold Cup. No, he wasn't going to come close. And he was a very, very good third under Rav Havlin. He's 8-1 here. I think he's worth each way play. I think he's value at that. I'm going to sit back and just enjoy 𝘗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵 because it was great to see him back. And Continuous. Now, last night I was at Naas and Raf and Aidan was Continuous going to run in the King George, and he said no because the rain hadn't come. But again, here it says it's coming up a bit soft. Now I don't know whether that's going to change. And Continuous is 20-1 here, whether that means he's not running or they don't know enough, or like he was 5th in the Arc and the Arc was like rock. He shouldn't have even been able to be 5th in the Arc. So if he can get his toe on the ground and he does run, he wasn't disgraced in the Hardwick at Ascot. And that ground was like a bullet, so he wasn't going to like that anyway. But at 20-1, he is whopping. He's absolutely whopping. So 𝘋𝘋𝘪𝘨𝑒 is your obvious. Yes, he probably wins. I have no problem with that. It's King 𝘋𝘋𝘨𝑒. And I like Sweet William at each way play. And I will have Continuous at that mighty price, should he turn up.
I'm delighted with that because I broke in Sweet William.
Oh, did you?
Amazing! And I didn't know.
Sweet William and Gregory were both bred by 𝘗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝘪𝘱𝑒 Stud, which is local for me. I broke in the 2 of them at Justin Morgan's place. He does all of Minouziers. So
amazing.
Anything that's over 4 that either came from Minouzier or 𝘗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵 Stud is me.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, was he a little monkey back then as well?
That's a beating.
I'm trying to remember him. I think if I can't remember too much, no, he's seen the stars. He'd have been grand. He'd have been grand. Yeah. I remember the ones that were proper monkeys. They're not often this good. The favourite was 𝘗𝘠𝑒𝑒, who's obviously now with Willie Mullins. He was the favourite.
I remember you actually saying. I remember seeing something on Twitter about 𝘗𝘠𝑒𝑒 when you said that you broke him. So that's
I
amazing.
may have made a bit of a show of myself at Ascot in front of 2 strangers. Yeah.
Nah, never.
Understandably so.
If it had been consumed and the liquid had to come out somewhere, it might have made its way out of my eye.
Oh, your eye. Wow, that's new. That's new.
Ocular leakage for 𝘗𝘗𝘨𝑒𝑒, which I'm raging they're not running him at Galway, George, because I thought you were going to be right up on him, but he's not now.
I wonder if they worried it was going to get a bit too quick for him there, maybe, but it was quick enough at Ascot. Does make you think he's had a fair few problems, and it was fairly quick at Ascot.
He might be a bit sore.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Wednesday, and this is the day I never used to miss. The 3:35 1 mile Qatar Sussex Stakes Group 1. I think 2008 was the first year I went, and I don't think I missed one until like 2015. Although I did was there in 2016 or 2017, because I remember it being the wettest ever on a racecourse. It was a horrible day because it just lashed down, and everything you fancied on the good or good to firm ground just suddenly just went like a bog. But yeah, 2008, Henry the Navigator, then Rip Van Winkle, Canford Cliffs. Frankel then won it twice, once as a 3-year-old, once as a 4-year-old, Toronado and Kingman. So all but Frankel in those years were 3-year-olds. And that's why I was saying about the weight, because in this race, it just used to be whichever 3-year-old turned up, the best 3-year-old would just win the race. And I think we might have another case of that this year with 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡, because he's just a superstar in my eyes. It would be nice if Notable Speech comes back to a bit of form. Obviously disappointed at Ascot completely, but I also see that 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗔𝗪𝗪𝗪 is still in the race, and this is over a mile, and I've been screaming out. I actually even said to his breeder on Sunday, and at the Curragh, that please run him over a mile, because they were saying like he's classic place, blah blah blah. Yeah, he's classic placed over a mile, and you keep running him over 6 and 7. So hopefully, if he runs, he won't be 50-1, and he could upset the apple cart. But I think just 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡 probably wins the race for me. Dawn?
I adore 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡. I seen 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡 in the space of the hour the opera singer had won in France as well. Richard Hannon calls him Superman, and honestly, he is Superman. I scratch my head with the English guineas at times, because I know it's very early and provide the winners later on, which it continuously does. He was so good in the Irish guineas. We've seen what horses behind him, like that team, have gone on and done. The St. James's, Sean had to switched him. He got him to go on again. But what I will say is Henry Longfellow only went down by a nick. I think this is the world of Henry Longfellow, and he was back to his best at Royal Ascot. Forget France. They said they shouldn't have run him even in France. He gave Aidan his 4,000th winner in the Vincent O'Brien at Champions Weekend, and he was unbeaten at 2. Again, I talk about dreamy breeding. You've got Minding and 𝗷𝗪𝗪𝗡. I mean, it's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. For a change, and I adore 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡, I absolutely adore him. And I heard the good news this week as well, that they're hoping that he's going to stay on as a 4-year-old, which is great, because then, you know, you've got your bit more of a relationship that we don't get with a good few of the flatties. But I'm going to go with Henry Longfellow, believe it or not. I said it after Royal Ascot. I think this is going to be Henry Royal Fellow. This is going to be Henry Longfellow's this time. They could be neck and neck again. It could go down to the judge, but yeah, I'm all over Henry Longfellow. Whether there's 8 in it, isn't there? Whether the 8 stay in. Factor Cheval got no race, no chance at Royal Ascot. So he's had his run since Maidan. So we're going with George's theory, which does, I agree with George with that theory. You know, I think Factor Cheval at 12-1 has a good each way chance. He doesn't beat my other 2 that I've mentioned. If you want the forecast, it's not going to pay out much. 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗡, Henry Longfellow, and the best. I can't have Notable Speech. I've never liked him. He's a lovely horse, but I've never liked him. It's a terrible thing to say, but I haven't. So for me, I want value, and I believe in Henry.
Henry. Well, if the 8 stay
I'll be
in,
a little bit more animated come Wednesday.
Yeah, well, if the 8 stay in, that means 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗡 runs, and then you'll all be shocked when he hoses up at 50s. George, who do you like?
There you go, printing money again.
Yeah. I think firstly, how great is it that we've got 8+ runners in the Sussex Stakes and the King George, because they've both been races that have suffered from low fields in the past, and they really are shop window races for racing. They're so important. Like, I've been lucky. I've got to see the Stars win his derby. I saw Keto Stars for King George. Some of my fondest memories of these races. 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗡 winning the King George. What a day's racing that was. Actually, probably my very favourite day's racing ever was riding out in the morning when I was 16, 17. I assume I was 17, so I was driving, I think. But riding out in the morning, talking to Josh Moore and going, we better go and see, like, Frankel versus Camford Cliffs is like half an hour down the road. We better go and watch it, haven't we?
Yeah, we better go and see
just
that.
Before we go,
yeah.
Josh rings. Exactly. Josh rings me just before we go. I go, oh, here we go. He doesn't want to go. Oh, we've got to go pick up my brother. I was like, oh, Jamie's coming as well. That'd be nice. Pull round in my Renault Clio. Bloody Josh and Ryan Moore. Pull the passenger seat forwards and get in the back. I drove Ryan Moore to the duel on the Downs that day as like a 17-year-old lad, and got to see history. Like, they're really, really important races. Not sure what Ryan thought of the gold Clio with the Playboy bunny sticker on the back, but probably not the.
I'm driving now, George. So
it was cool in 2011. It was probably cool in 2008, but it was 2011 when I had it. Right, 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏 is proven himself to be the best in the division at this point. I tried to make the argument that Henry Longfellow might improve again for the last run and come on by him, but if they thought there was any more sharpness to come out of him, would they have taken 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏 on as early as they did at Ascot? He was ridden like a horse that was trained to the minute that day, and he still couldn't get past him. I find it hard to see why he would here. Equally, notable speech was well beaten that day, and no official explanation has been given, but I've heard it said that he didn't come down the hill on the firm ground. There's plenty of downhill at Goodwood. There's not much rain around between now and then. And he was twice as fit as everything else going into the Guineas. I think that's all it was. It was last 2-year-old race of the season syndrome. I was against him Ascot, have to be against him here. And what else is there? Factor Cheval would surely want more cut in the ground. I just think 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏 just wins. And is he value at that price? No, but I think he just wins.
Yeah, I think probably a fair shout. When we've all made our money at Goodwood in the day, we then will head to Galway in the evening. This used to be on. The Galway plate used to be on bang in the middle of racing at Goodwood. I remember it because we used to like all pile into the bookies, just have a bet on the Galway plate while we were at Goodwood. Obviously, they've moved it now as a more of an evening meeting. And yeah, the Galway plate is at 7:10. It's the 2 mile, 6.5 furlong tote Galway plate, grade 3. I tried to do the trends on this, but it's difficult because we haven't got declarations, and you know, when you're dealing with like horses that need to be a certain weight, etc., then it's too hard because you're going to have horses come out and the weights are going to change. But when it comes around, you ideally want a horse with 10 stone 13 or less. I think if I was going to throw a couple of darts, it would probably be Am I Right and 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏. They're both currently under that weight. Elliot's won it 4 times, Henry de Bromhead twice. They're not bullish selections by any means, but I think 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏 is probably one of the like class horses in the race, with group form, etc. So I'm surprised he might be a double figure price. He'll probably go offshore if a few come out, but he would be my play, but nothing strong. We'll leave it to the Irish expert, Dawn. Give us the winner. More pressure.
Well, I mean, I love the Galway plate that much. I wore it on my head last year, so that's you try and scrape back your money from what you've lost during the day and raise the plate. I mean, Ashtree Meadow last year was so good with Danny up. Danny took weight off, and you're going to want to look for somebody who's going to take weight off here. Willie's got a good few in here. Gordon's got a good few in here. There's a few that have gone under the radar. Noel Meade's Ida's Boy. We seen him win 2 weeks ago at Kilbeg in the Midlands National at 40 to 1. He's 16s here. He was so well handicapped if you go back and look at what he did. You had the likes of 𝗋𝘥𝘥𝘢𝗏 winning this early doors. Clark Cam, Road to Riches. Balco de Flo, who went on and was that superb second in the Grand National. Mr. Policeman, I seen Willie came out during the week and said he was a really big disappointment last season. He's 9 to 1 here. He's a slow burner. I was delighted for him when he won at Punchestown, but he's by triple threat, and triple threats, they need it to be good ground. He would need it to be good ground. And if it starts spilling like it has been spilling here, you're going to not have good ground. Another one of Willie's here is down the weight. He's 8-9, fourth in the novice hurdle in October last year. 𝗗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝘪𝘱𝑴, very, very good form. Good chance down the weights. 𝗗𝘪𝘨𝘥𝗢𝗪 is right down the weights too. So you're talking about 𝗗𝗪𝘨 here. 𝗗𝗪𝘨 here is probably one of the classiest in here, and he has taken to chasing well. And what he's been finishing behind, like at Dublin Racing Festival and that, you know, they're classy horses too. But in the same colours, 𝗗𝘪𝘨𝘥𝗢𝗪 is in here too. He's got 10-6. He was third to 𝘗𝘪𝘨𝑒 in the Midlands National. He's due a big day. He's actually beaten Hewitt in the past as well. So we've been waiting, and I think 𝗗𝘪𝘨𝘥𝗢𝗪 would have a very, very good chance here. There is an English raider as well from Harry Fry again. Good man, Harry. You're sending them all over. At the moment, 7-1. JP Colours in 𝗋𝘰𝘥𝘤𝘢𝘴. Try get your mouth around that. But 𝗗𝘪𝘨𝘥𝗢𝗪, I think down the weights has a very good chance. And 𝗗𝘰𝘥𝘪𝘨𝘪 at 10A. Obviously, when some of them come out, the weights will change, but still, we're going to be nice and low. Astri Meadow is back for more. He's 20-1, but he's got 11-12, which is a big ask for him when he's got others in here, which will be carrying a stone or more less.
Okay, thank you very much. George, fancy anything in the plate?
Yeah, I've had a couple of tentative swings at this. An angle I fairly often like is 𝗂𝘗𝘓 place only, and I'll give it a go here. He's trying a new trip, but he often does his best work late. Decent ground would help with stretching his stamina. He is weighted up to his best, but he's placed off his sort of mark in the past. And if he's placed off that sort of mark in the past, you know damn well he probably could have won off that mark in the past and chose not to. His seconds to two very well backed horses at Aintree and Punchestown gave the impression there's plenty in the tank. I say he has been a perfect place only course and probably will continue to be so until tackling non-handicap company again. Even then, to be honest, fairly often if you back him anti-post each way at like say 20s, 33s, he usually is in sort of grade 1, grade 2 contests. It usually ends up being 5 runners and he'll finish third, like plugging on late. He's a real money maker if you know how to play him, this horse. Like, he really is. The only thing, he's getting older, so first time out fitness will become more of a problem as he gets older. But currently, he's been placed on 6 out of 8 starts off the back of breaks of 60 days or more. Like I said, the new trips are concerned, first time out's concerned, but plenty of compensation in the price. And like I said, as always, he is place only. He is not an each way vehicle. He will not win. He'll run backwards to not win. And actually, just as we were talking about the race, I spotted Easy Games 33-1. I think he's Willie Mullins winning most horse of all time. He's won 15 races.
Yeah, he is.
And he's off 158. He spent most of his career around the 160 mark. We've got very limited evidence to go on handicap forms. A lot of those are sort of fairly poor grade 2s and grade 3s. But he has been second in a handicap off a mark a pound lower than this before. And it's hard to say. He's 10 years old. He's getting there. And he's very, very limited experience in handicap company. And I think it's about 3 or 4 runs. And only one of them was any good. But he's too good a horse to send off 33-1 here, and you'll probably get 7 places.
Probably.
He's I can't let him go off 33-1, and I would back him each way. So he's the sort of horse I could see pop up and win a race like this, especially looking at how many Willie has in it. There's a good chance he'll get a few pounds off his back as well, which would be nice off 11 stone 10. So those would be my 2.
Nice one, thank you. Okay, Wednesday also has the Qatar Oak Street Stakes and the 𝗗𝘂𝘥𝘪𝘡 Stakes, but we're not covering those. So I was just scaring Dawn there to say that you know, we've got a couple more races here. No, we're not covering those. We'll move on. We'll move on to Thursday, and we'll start with Goodwood again. And the 3:35 1 mile to 𝗗𝗪𝘨𝗪𝗡 Stakes, Group 1. An opera singer will hopefully run in this, and she finally steps up to 10 furlongs. I've been waiting to see her run over further than a mile for a little while. I'm actually surprised when I was looking through the race. I'm surprised to see Aidan O'Brien has only actually won the race 4 times. I feel like he's won it so many more than that. But yeah, he's won it 4 times. And one of those was, I think, 2007 when Peeping Fawn won. And that was actually, at the time, my biggest ever horse racing bet at the time. And I remember it very well because she won. And she still is one of my favourite horses. And now she's a brood mare and producing some very good horses herself. So opera singer for me. I'm not going to really say much more on the race. I'll leave it to Dawn. It's another boring selection from me, but I think opera singer will win. Dawn?
Yeah, well, I see Inspiral is in here too, and I kind of go, has Inspiral been completely turned off to it now at this stage? You know what I always say about us ladies, once we fall out of love with something, we very rarely fall back in love with it. I'd love to see her run a good race though, because she's an old gem as well. One of my 5, 6, 7 to follow, because some of them have disappeared, Purple Lily. Now she's big at 33s, whether she does go or not, because we seen her at the Oaks last week, and she was, just a shout out to her, she was a very good third. Content was second. Content is in here too at 25s. Content, Ryan is getting a lot of blame for the ride on Content. They say that she got boxed in or whatever else. She's also half sister to the brilliant Bedtime Story, but that's just fun facts. And Purple Lily and Content probably don't go here, as does Not Blue Stocking, who's actually 4 to 1, which I thought was quite strange. I mean, if she does go and run on the Thursday after running on the Saturday, it'll be some feat. Sparkling Plenty is one of interest here, the Prix de Diane, and you seen her rich when she won at Chantilly as well.
Yeah.
𝗗𝗪𝗡 have bought half of her. They bought the whole lot of Simmering, but they bought half of her. She was sold at the boutique sale for whopping millions upon millions. So she's 12 to 1 here. I mean, she's value. She's a lot of value. She's carrying 9-1, but opera singer for me. I've waxed lyrical so long about her. I was convinced she was going to win the coronation. I really, really was. She stayed on at 1 pace, and now Porta Fortuna is actually getting the credit she deserves. She is very, 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 very good. That Marcel Boussac of opera singers, I just thought, you know, this season was going to be incredible for her. She needed that run in the Irish Guineas, and she was the good third in the Irish Guineas. Now, I tried to make a case and say, well, she's justified. It was yielding, it wasn't good, but she did win on soft in France, so I can't really make that case. But I just have here in big black letters, opera singer wins, which she does. And I will be watching with interest of Sparkling Plenty. I think she's value at 12 to 1, and they haven't spent all that money, honey, to not run her and for her to place, but she doesn't beat opera singer.
Is this the third one that you're saying wins easy?
She wins. Are we going to have 3 easies?
I don't know, are we? It's up to you.
Easy peasy. It depends if bloody Content turns up and wins at 25 to 1.
That's what I was thinking. Like, she's 7 to 4 opera singer, and half of this field aren't going to run. So,
no,
like, the percentage chance has got to go up from 7 to 4, I think. If Blue Stockings comes out at 4 to 1. Sparkling Plenty, I did look at her, but I've just got visions of Blue Rose Sen running at Goodwood last time. Was it last year? And it was just a horror show, wasn't it? So I just don't want to touch another French trained horse until I've seen one like dispel that awful performance from last year.
And I asked you when she won the Prix de Diane, I said, when you seen her before that, did she do anything for you? And you said she did absolutely nothing for you. So unless you're going to do a 360.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing it. Not. So, yeah, George, who wins this one?
Yeah, Much as you said, 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪, if you're going to back her now. Like
Yeah.
she's only going to shorten. Blue Stocking won't come here. In Spiral has a lot of questions to answer. Sparkling Plenty, again, you always worry if she's going to be able to do it this side of the pond. Probably would prefer some rain, although it is tradition at Glorious Goodwood that one day it absolutely buckets it down. It's beautiful, all the rest.
Yeah.
And it has happened on Nassau Stake Day before. I remember midday winning it in an absolute deluge. But obviously, if it chucks it down with rain, then the outsider of a lot, Novus for Gary and Josh Moore will win. But
Yes.
I think she's value at 7-4, and I will be backing her at 7-4, but that's not very interesting. So I dug out an each way chance as well. Laurel's only been out the first two once in 6 starts. Found only running lion, too good in a very competitive Duke of Cambridge. She performed to a good level on good to soft and good to firm. I think she might find a step up in trip to her liking. She's got a lot of half siblings, but her only full brother is called Detective, and both of his career high RPRs were achieved at a mile 3. She's only got £5 on RPRs with 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, and comes here off, obviously 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪's performing to a high level, but Laurel's just it's hard to say it's more of a winner, but 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 has been beat twice this season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And you're being asked to take 7-4, regardless of the quality of race. Laurel is priced like also got beat last time. It's hard to explain, but I think there's every chance that step up in trip is could bridge the gap to even give her a chance of beating 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. But I certainly think she's got an each way chance. 16-1, just far too big.
She's 16s, which is that's a decent price. I couldn't have her at all. I was saying on this pod, couldn't have her at Royal Ascot just purely because she was racing against like properly race fit rivals, and that probably proved to be the case. But she still ran a really good race. She outperformed what I thought she would do. So if that's sort of blown the cobwebs off, and she could be one to at least pick up the pieces, and if not, give 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 something to think about. Okay, we will then move to Galway for the 5:05 2-mile Guinness Galway Hurdle Handicap Grade 3. Another absolute minefield of a race. I mean, I've got one in mind here, but I'll let Dawn start us off, and then I'll throw my hat into the ring with one, maybe two. But
well, we all love Guinness anyway. So, and you've been partaking in a serious amount of Irish Guinness, but Zarek the Brave won this last year. He was the youngest to win it. That was the question, a novice going into this, because he had the likes of Mr. Cheek Pieces himself, Tudor City. When you seen those big fluffy cheek pieces coming, you always knew that he was going to win this. And to be honest, I think this should be called the Tudor City Galway Hurdle, really, because he owned it. And if you go back and look at Mick Winters when he won with Miss United, they are the scenes that they talk about at Galway that people turn up for. It was pure emotion. It was raw. He was up on people's shoulders. It was pure class. So, the Guinness will be sunk for this hurdle. Billericay Dicky is in here. Now, he is a novice, and again, to our sick friend Danny, I know he'll probably be having or watching, even though he's not enthused by the jumps at the moment. He's into Leto's half-brother as well. Nicky Henderson, Uncle Nicky, is sending Under Control over. Now, I'm very, very fond of her. She had cauterization in her palate. Now, we know it was, Nicky's yard wasn't quite well last season, but it'd be brilliant to see her come over and run a really good race. She's 10.8 at the moment. Obviously, again, we say the weights will change. Second to Ashroe Diamond. Ashroe Diamond's actually in foal now, but second to Ashroe Diamond in the Yorkshire Rose Mares at Donny. And She won the Fillies Juvenile, the Mayor's Day at Cheltenham in 2023, which seems to throw up some good, lovely ladies. My good friend Samu, you do. We're talking about charity races and that. He was very good in the Up the Yard charity race when the golfer had won back at Punchestown earlier on in the year. Samu was second to the amazing Mystical Power at Galway last year. So you'd think he's going to have a very, very, very good chance here. And I just adore the horse, and he won on the flat last week. And I went against him and he hacked up like the best thing that there ever was. I always go back to the 𝗗𝘗𝘪𝘵 form, and Joseph O'Brien sends Nuremberg Ring here. Nuremberg Ring has 10-7 at the minute. Again, I say I go off the 𝗗𝘗𝘪 form. Last year, he nearly put 𝗗𝘗𝘪 through the rail and lost the race at Listowel. He was put down to second. 𝗗𝘗𝘪 then was put up to first. He was a good third to 𝗗𝘪𝘨 in the juvenile Christmas hurdle at Leopardstown. He was fourth in the Triumph hurdle this year, and he was fourth in the champion hurdle 4-year-olds at Punchestown to 𝗋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵. Fun fact, the year before, 𝗂𝗏 the Brave, who won this, was second in the same champion hurdle at Punchestown the year before. And he had a nice pipe opener on the flat last week. Dylan Brown McGonigal rode him in a nice little flat handicap at Leopardstown, and he was sixth. So for me, Nuremberg Ring is super in this. And if he's a nice weight, he wins it. Samu comes close. I'd love to see Under Control back to her best, but Nuremberg Ring for me in this. We'll be drinking Guinness out of the Nuremberg Ring.
Well, 10-1 at the moment, and I think Samui is 25, so that's not bad at all. George?
Yeah, I'd echo everything on Under Control. She's mare I really, really like the defeat of 𝗂𝘗𝘪𝘏𝘓 back in April at Sandown. Looks really good now. Obviously, the wind up, the first wind up either didn't work or maybe should have been done a little later. But obviously, subsequently, he had a second one, finished second to 𝘗𝘗𝘪𝘏𝘓𝘗𝘓. I think her chance is fairly self-explanatory, but I'd give her a shout. The other one at a really big price that I would have each way interesting is Mighty Tom. Like, initially, he looked to change horse over fences. Like, he beat 10 lengths by Let's Be Clear About It in an obvious chase, but he was the only horse that ever served it up to him that day. Let's Be Clear About It's chasing career went fairly backwards after that, but it was a really electric performance that day. That he didn't jump well enough at Cheltenham the next time, and it's just taken them a while, but they've decided to switch him back over hurdles now at 9 years of age. And when we last saw him over hurdles, he was winning at Killarney, and that was off 128. He's off 139 now, but he obliterated them that day, won by 10 lengths. Could he be placed here for sure? As these are tentative ones. And the other one I'd have a little look at is Williamstown Dancer. Had a little tune up in a flat race, which he won, a maiden at Leopardstown back in June. Like he's for Willie to bother doing that with him makes me think that he thinks he has a chance here. He was out of his depth against Brighter Days Ahead in a Grade 3 in November, but in a Grade 3 novice hurdle at Tipperary in October, he beat Bialystok 2 3/4 lengths. He was rated 125 at the time. Bialystok's now rated 140. This was still only rated 135, and again, they improve at different rates. You've got to bear that in mind. What price is he? 14 to 1.
14s, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd go straight win on Under Control, probably in each way on Williamstown Dancer, and then probably I'd go place only with Mighty Tom, but with the extra places. Like, he's a big enough price. If you go 5 places even, you'll still get a decent price, place only.
Okay, nice one. I think I have to throw 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 into the ring just because he was my cliff horse for a while, and then I abandoned him when he won. And then I backed him again the next time, and he ran around like a lunatic when looking like he was going to win quite comfortably and unseated his rider just before or during or at the last. He's an absolute lunatic. He's a lunatic, to put it kindly. But sometimes in these like big handicaps, having a look, because he's running quite a few races where most of the horses are out the back because they're not trying in novice hurdles, and you're sort of just running up against one or two. So it's sort of more like a small field race. Whereas here he'll have a lot of horses around him, probably doing equally as crazy things. And I think it might settle him down a little bit. And he's 20-1. Like Willie's winners in this haven't always gone off short prices. You know, like George's selection, there's 14s. 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪's 20s. I think if he does run, he's going to get in off of really low weight. I know he's a novice, and like you said, Dawn, novices probably don't have a great record in the race, but I didn't run the trends for it, or I haven't yet. I might do next week when the decks are in. But for now, 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 20-1. Let's hope he can settle down a little bit. And he's clearly got talent. And I thought a lot of him when he was running in bumpers last year, and I think let's hope he can perform up to standard and show us something. He's a
lovable lunatic, Rich. A lovable lunatic.
Exactly.
A lovable lunatic. And like George was saying about Mighty Tom, I said I'd wait to cut in because I know I'm a bit behind with my woeful internet. But Mighty Tom, he's another horse. They say it depends what mood he turns up in. Now I know you're gonna say mood, what mood? But they say it depends what mood he turns up in. So it's a good mood.
Yeah, big old talk at Cheltenham behind non-public. But I'm hoping the hurdles will brighten his mood a little bit. He remembers winning over.
Yeah, as long as old Looney Tunes doesn't smash into him, but let Looney Tunes smash into him, and then the ring will just fly past. Okay, but he's bad at a rail too. He puts things through rails as well. So
yeah, he does. See, that's what I mean. There's quite a few in here that it could be quite a crazy race and probably a good one to watch. But let's hope
and then the lady
come back
keeps under control and just goes.
Possibly, yeah. We'll see, won't we? That is it for Thursday. We also have the Richmond Stakes and the Gordon Stakes at Goodwood on that day. So good luck if you're punting in those. We're not going to cover them. Friday at Goodwood, we have the 3:35, 5 furlong King George Qatar Stakes Group 2. I'm just going to say that I think it's going to be as simple as if the ground's on the softer side, Big Evs wins. If the ground's on the quicker side, 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗔𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙 and the ground. I would absolutely love Pontus to win. 12-1 doesn't look a terrible price. But I've also got loads of content on my phone of Pontus winning at Chantilly. So it'd be nice to use some of that if he does win, because otherwise it's just going to go to waste on my phone, or me put a post up 6 months after it's happened, which I tend to do quite often because I'm so delayed with my social media. Okay, that's my selections. That was quick as you like. Soft side Big Evs, firm side Asphora. Either winning would do me well. But yeah, I'll make a decision on the day. Dawn?
Well, you know, I'm going to go Team Pontus here. I mean, he's literally, he may as well come on the podcast himself, but it's a great story behind him. And I see, you know, a couple of social media platforms covering Asphora and they're covering Big Evs. And they're not talking about Pontus. And Pontus, what Sabine and Peter do, like they travel from Czech with Pontus. Sabine rides him. Sabine is a jockey herself. When he was running last year in Dubai, Sabine was 8 months pregnant and riding work. So little Simon, who is now born, he actually goes around and he's Team Pontus as well. But Pontus this year, if you look back at what he's achieved, like he's been the fastest sprinter over a Group 3 and a Group 2. I'm not into times, but because Sabine and Pete are very good friends of my mum's, she shoved the times down my neck, and the times are pretty damn impressive. And with this horse, he just keeps improving. He keeps improving. He keeps improving. Not only the story with him, like he's a fairy tale horse. He was bred in Ireland as well, so there's the Irish factor there too. He's by power, and as he gets older, he gets better, and he's one of those sprinters. We always say about sprinters that they have the body of an angel and the backside of a cook, and he's got both. And should he win at Goodwood, then all roads lead to York, and we'll all be in orange and white at York for him. But again, I just say people get behind him because it's a really, really, really good story, a really good sprinter. We get to enjoy him, and he's just such a cool horse. And he's won on Very Soft twice this year, so I would love a bit of a tussle, because I adore Big Evs too. I would love a bit of a tussle between the older sprinter and the younger guy, the kind of not the new kid on the block, but I mean, Big Evs was so good at Royal Ascot. He was a very, very good third to Asphora. Again, Asphora has another great story as well. I mean, that's another story that should be spoken about more. And he was brilliant when he won at Breeders' Cup. He had a brilliant season on coming back and debut. So I'm very, it's going to be heart and heart. I think this is Big Evs to win, but I would not be surprised in the least. Pontus is the forgotten horse, and he's such value at 12-1. And anybody who does enjoy their speeds and does get off on numbers or anything else, or just enjoys a really good story, go and check Pontus out, because we're not talking about him enough. Frost at Dawn, she's in here. She hasn't had a run since Dubai. She's 40-1. I had such high hopes for her because she was so good. So good in Dubai. She's here for William Knight at 40-1. She's probably best off just watched for the moment. She's probably going back to Dubai, living the dream. Will there be a comeback? I mean, he's not what he was last year. Did breeders leave a mark? That's the question. Makarova, Rich, you never even mentioned Makarova, and you talked about Makarova a lot. 𝗗𝗪𝘨𝘪𝘵 is in here too. He's 12-1. I loved him on his comeback at Naas, but is he still injured? Does he even run? And the ammo horses aren't running as well as they had earlier on in the season. So for me, head, heart, and everything else, it's Pontus, because he feels like family now, that way. But should it not be Pontus, then Big Evs just hacks up.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was going to give a shout out to 𝗗𝗪𝘨𝘪𝘵, but until I see him turn up, I'm not going to back him anti-post or anything like that. And as for Makarova, she ran okay the other day at the Curragh after a really good performance at Sandown. But again, I'm not sure Makarova or Believing will run. Maybe they will, but I think it's possibly going to come too soon. But who knows? George, who do you like?
Yeah, I think it's a lot closer than people think. You're talking a 5 furlong sprint. All it takes is a dodgy step, a little slow out the gates, and it's a completely different race. There are £5 on RPRs. No, sorry, £3 on RPRs between the top 8 in the betting. So I want to go with the horse I think is the most solid, and that horse is 𝘗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵. Some were quick to write off his Temple Stakes win as a fluke, but I think it's 5th in the King Charles III sort of suggested that it's possible. This horse is just finally maturing to the horse he was always meant to be. Mick Barhy, 2 starts back, ran a career best at 5 years old. He's also very profitable. Like, these horses are late maturers. And if anyone knows late maturing sprinters, it's Clive Cox. He's the best man to have one with. If you take the Haydock race at face value, and to be fair, even Ascot, I thought he ran a great race. He doesn't have to find very much challenge market principles here. And I just think 12-1 is a mad price for a horse that won a race of this nature 2 starts back.
Yeah, that's true. For me, it's just, again, that weight just looks, it's giving a bit away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got solid form in the book for sure, and he probably is going to be one that turns up as well, because a couple of these I think will come out. So
he's an each way price.
He'll probably go off shorter than 12. Yeah.
Yeah, if he was 4-1, I couldn't be backing him with the weight, but I'd probably back him now 3 places, and then if there are extra places available come Dex, I'll probably take that on as well. It's obviously 7s or bigger.
That makes sense. Okay, that's Friday done. There is the Bonhams Thoroughbred Stakes Group 3 and the Coral Golden Mile, which is the Heritage Handicap. And again, we're not going to go through those now. Saturday, back to Goodwood, and it's the 3 o'clock 1 mile 6 Qatar Lily Langtry Stakes Group 2. Dawn, you can take us away with this one.
Well, I'd say George would be able to back me up on this. You Got Me probably doesn't run this Saturday. I see that she's there and she's entered. She's 12-1, but I doubt she runs in this. I mean, the Irish Oaks to come off a week later, she probably doesn't. So that puts me into, I have Time Lockdown at 8s. I've always liked her. 𝗗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝘪𝘱𝴀 is very, very interesting here. Should she run? She's 16s. She'd been off that long layoff. I mean, nothing at the end was catching Tower of London last week, but she has an entry here, and Mr. Dermot Weld knows what he's doing when it comes to fillies, especially Aga Khan fillies, and she's got Warm Heart form, and that Warm Heart form is still hot. Absolutely hot, and she was 6th at Longchamp in the 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 interesting here at 16s. Grateful. She was sixth in the Oaks trials to 𝗗𝗪𝘨. 𝗗𝗪𝘨 didn't run her race last week in the Oaks, but Greenfinch came out of that. Greenfinch was third, and we've seen Greenfinch absolutely hack up at Killarney. She won a Group 3 at 12s at Fairyhouse. She's 16-1 here too. Obviously, that's going to cut up once some of the ladies come out. Night Sparkle. She is a cliff horse of mine, and my tracker always goes off. She originally was with Michael O'Callaghan, and she's dual purpose. She's won a hurdle at Punchestown. She's with Andrew Balding. She's 20-1 here. She ran a very, very good second to 𝗵𝗨 when 𝗵𝗨 came back to his very best a couple of weeks ago, and she was second in the Bronte Cup, the Grade 2 or Group 2 earlier this year. She's always stayed on my radar because I always remember Michael saying to me that she was actually going to go to Cheltenham, but then she sold, and she's been doing so well on the flat for Andrew Balding. She's worked each way play at 20-1 because she always runs her races, and I love a dual purpose filly. But I'm going to have a bit of Grateful here. I think Grateful comes close, and I will have Night Sparkle for myself. I'm not telling anybody to follow me off that cliff, but I'm having her at 20-1. She has always resonated with me, and I'd love to see her back over a hurdle next year.
We've actually got the third of the horses that I broke in that ran in this year's Gold Cup in this race is 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝘪𝘱𝴪. I did not teach him to fall like that, I will say. But I'm not with him here. The horse that stuck out to me was 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝘪𝘱𝴴. That she's got a giveaway top weight here, which is tough for a less experienced horse. Although, like, she's giving, you know, weight for age, but in just 5 runs, she's managed to record an RPR of 115. Takes some doing, like getting up to that level that quickly, especially when she's obviously had issues. She doesn't have a whole lot to find on the ratings, the market principles. Being a daughter of Roaring Lion, you'd think the step up to mile 6 should help her. It's far from a strong shout. I found this race pretty hard, but seeing that she was 9-1 was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought should be closer to sort of 5, 6s. So I would have to go with 𝗋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵 here.
Okay. I think every time we do a podcast that has Free Wind in it, I'm just like, why is Free Wind favourite again? I just don't get it. I never get it. And it just skews the market every single time. She'll probably go and prove me wrong and win this time, but it just skews the market. And to me, everything looks too big a price. And I think
is she thrown in for the crack? Is that what it is? They just throw her in for
they throw her in, but everyone, like whoever's models or whatever, work out the prices. She just is just short every time. So I think here for me, I agree with you, Dawn. Time Lock back against the girls, back against her own sex. I think 8-1 is a decent price. She's running good races this year, and she wasn't disgraced by any means behind 𝗗𝘪𝘅𝗪𝗡 last time at Newmarket. And I've got absolutely no idea at any of the other bigger prices if any of them are going to run. So if they don't, then I think Time Lock will probably go off a little bit shorter. And I probably could agree with 𝗋𝘪𝘨𝑒𝘪𝑒 if just lay Free Wind in the win market and just make it. That'll be it.
If it did rain, Sumo Sam would come in with a chance.
True, yeah, likes Goodwood as well.
Goodwood.
Yeah.
Ran a really good race. I was there the day. God, what did she run behind? She ran a really good race there. Must have been that day. Not when she won. That was the day I was there when she was third behind 𝗗𝗪𝘨𝗪𝗡. And actually ran much better than the 8 3/4 length beating would suggest. And I sort of followed her from that, going, right, that this is going to win eventually. It's going to win. I sort of had to get through the 2 runs at Ascot, and finally she did come in at a huge price. It was the right result.
Nice.
There's a big run in her, but again, if this is the day where it absolutely chucks it down,
it could be the day.
Yeah.
You would
Rain dance.
Rain dance, yeah. Okay, that is all of the races that we're going to cover. I know, Dawn, you said you've got one. I mean, Saturday also has the Glorious Stakes Group 3, the Stewards Cup, which I didn't want to get involved in this far in advance, and the Boyle Sports Handicap Hurdle, which is a listed race at Galway. Who are you giving us, Dawn, in any other races that you looked into?
Anybody who knows me knows that I have a love affair, not so secret, with 𝗵𝘃𝘪𝘨. And there's the Novice Hurdle. It's the first race on Plate Day, Wednesday, 2 mile 5 maiden. And 2 years ago, we had our own runner in there. And the handicapper was never kind to us afterwards, even though we fell at the second last coming after 𝗵𝘃𝘪𝘨. So we came very close that day. But 𝗵𝘃𝘪𝘨 won it 2 years ago. High Class Hero won it last year. It's thrown up some very good horses. It'll throw you up a horse that will probably go on and maybe win you a Lawlers, win you an Albert Bartlett. I know people are saying don't already talk about the National Hunt season, but we seen Mystical Power at Galway last year. High Class Hero didn't really deliver. 𝗵𝘃𝘪𝘨 did deliver at Cheltenham the year before that. And again, like I say, that's where I first met 𝗵𝘃𝘪𝘨 in the parade ring that day. Dawn Rising was third that day as well. And we seen what a dual purpose hero Dawn Rising is. So Dawn Rising had actually gone off favourite that day 2 years ago in this maiden hurdle. So I see Aurora Vega is in here, the gorgeous daughter of 𝗋𝘪𝘨𝗪𝗡 and Facile Vega's little sister, and also Field of Thistles. Now, Field of Thistles was a very good bump horse and finally got off the mark for Mags Mullins last week. So he was 4th last year in October at Galway. I think definitely decent each way play and a horse to keep on side going forward. But Aurora Vega in here, she's crying out to get her day. And I think we'll know more about her. I know in the past people have said, well, she's no Facile Vega. But I mean, 𝗋𝘪𝘨𝗪𝗡 was a bloody good mare. And to see Aurora Vega in here, she'll be getting a bit of an allowance as well. Watch the horses that are 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, even 5th or 6th that come out of this race, because it delivers. It delivers all through the season, whether it's your autumn jumps, your winter jumps or your spring jumps, you're going to see good horses come out of this race. Like I say, Champ Kylie, Dawn Rising, high class hero last year, Mayo, Tagman as well, who's doing quite well for the Bromheads. If you go back a bit more, you'll see more good horses that have come out of it. But it's a very good race, and it's something that for us hardcores, to pluck already out for the upcoming national hunt season.
Okay, thank you.
Speech done.
Speech done.
Champ Kylie.
I have one more race that I wanted to just mention, and that is in the States. Saratoga, I think it's 10:43 UK time. 1 mile 1 Jim Dandy Stakes, which is a grade 2 for 3-year-olds. We have got an absolute banger of a renewal with Sierra Leone, Fierceness, who hasn't been seen since flopping in the Kentucky Derby, and Seize the Grey, who's the Belmont winner. Now, I'm not going to try and predict the winner of the race, but if you've got an interest in round the world races and good racing, then it'd be nice to see. I'd like Fierceness obviously to win, because I was very impressed when I was there at Florida Derby Day at Gulfstream Park, and I don't know really what happened in the Kentucky Derby, but yeah, it looks like a really, really good race. So one to tune into on Saturday night if you've got nothing better to do. George, any final words from you?
I can go into a little more detail on Magic Memories if you like. My horse that runs first race on the Tuesday.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I took him over when essentially he tried to climb over the top of the stalls at Brighton in September last year, something like that. I can't. He was a maiden at the time. I took him through the stalls every day for a month, a little bit more each day, got him calmed down. He then won on his he passed his stalls test for starters.
Yeah.
Then he won on his reappearance. The family tend to do better with age. His half brother, Whipmaster, came out as a 4-year-old and won 4 on the bounce. His other brother was too injury prone really to show much, but I knew the Dam as well. I rode the Dam. The Dam's brother broke my leg. It's a family I know very well. But he came in this year, he looked a different horse. He was working. He worked well before, but he worked on a different planet this year. And him and a horse called 𝗷𝗻𝗄𝗅𝗔𝗖𝗛 did all their work together. They were trained hard for their first run of the season. They were both in the Lincoln. They were both planning to run in the Spring Mile, but 𝗷𝗻𝗄𝗅𝗔𝗖𝗛 crept into the Lincoln somehow. And 𝗷𝗻𝗄𝗅𝗔𝗖𝗛 finished 4th in the Lincoln. He finished 5th in the Spring Mile, beaten 3 3/4 lengths. And they both bounced on their next run where they're being trained hard. And that explains for you why he ran so bad at Leicester the next day. He was back to form at Sandown the next time, beat a length and a half in second. Won at Yarmouth. He only won by half a length, but they pulled well clear of the third, and Tom Queally never picked up his stick. It was a beautiful ride. I thought he ran fantastic the last day up into Class 2 company. Like you could have called him the winner up until the last 150 yards. And what it was Perotto was on his inside, went for his life turning in. Magic Memories has gone with him. Didn't have much cover early, pulled a bit hard. And in Hayley Turner's defence for home on Perotto, and if Ryan Moore's going for home, you go for home. You don't leave them off, do you? But as it happened, the two of them went a bit soon. They finished 3rd and 4th. He got dropped £2 for that, which is completely, I don't understand it at all. But we stepped him up to a mile 1 here, and I think he's always been a horse that strikes me. I think he'll win over jumps, this horse. The day after he had his little stunt at Brighton and tried to climb over the stalls, I was sent to school him and thinking this will teach him to appreciate the flat. He jumped so bloody well. He never learned any lesson at all. I think if the day ever comes where he finally decides he doesn't want to go into the stalls at all, he will win over hurdles. So I've got to think the step up to a mile one's going to suit. He's 16-1. He's capable of this mark.
Right.
And I would say he's in the best form he's been in since he finished 5th in the Spring Mile, if not better. He's in cracking form. I worked with a horse rated 80 the other day with a jockey 2.5 stone lighter, and I worked all over him.
Wow. Okay. Nice stuff.
Wow.
I mean, I actually remember the
The
win at Yarmouth.
advertisement.
I remember the win at Yarmouth because I was watching and you got a shout out.
Hayley, I think.
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it would have been Hayley Moore, wouldn't it? It would have been Hayley, and she gave you a shout out saying that you'd done a lot of work with the horse in the stalls and stuff, and it was a massive.
It was a long month. It was a long month. Every time I went in the stall, the first 5 times I went in the stalls, he doesn't panic. Like, he's not a panicker. That's what you think when horses like go mad in the stalls, they panic. This horse is just impatient and ignorant. Like,
he just wants to get out and get on with it.
You just go, I'm not standing here. And I promise you, he put his near fall would come up and it would land on the same ledge every time. He was climbing the stalls like a ladder. He wasn't freaking out. He wasn't trying to jump over the top. He was climbing. So he's just going, I'm going to climb out of here, and there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Naps, yeah. Have you got any naps? I mean, I may as well just nap Passenger. It's so difficult to pick one because after Dawn's just said they all win so easily, it's going to be difficult to follow that. So yeah, I'll nap Passenger. Dawn, who are you going to nap?
August Rodin.
Okay, August Rodin.
Easily.
George?
I think there's a few that just win, but I'm going to make 𝗗𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝘪𝘵 my nap because I think he's completely the wrong price.
So that's against me?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Yeah?
Brilliant. Love it.
I can change it because I have a next best. My next best is Noble Dynasty in the Lennox.
Okay. Well, no, just let's go up against each other.
Way better than we.
Okay. Magic Memories, each way better the week.
Yeah.
I will just mention that a little shameless plug for 𝗔𝗣𝗪𝗔𝗪𝗡. We're having a really good month this month. I think we're 18 points up for the month, which is pretty good. You can now get a 7-day free trial. I've managed to sort the website out at last, and you can get a 7-day free trial on the website. I'll stick a link wherever that goes, if that's the old way YouTube does it. Stick a link down in the description. And we're approaching some milestones on our socials. We're over 800 now on YouTube. We're closing in on some milestone numbers for followers on Instagram and Twitter as well. So when we get there, we'll be doing some giveaways, some prizes, maybe some free months, some merchandise, etc. So if you're not following, please do, and help us get to those numbers as soon as possible. It will help us out a lot. Dawn, sign us off.
Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have Josiah to drop me a sick beat, though, so you're going to have to bear with me for the racing riddle. So let's have some more with a soprano and an opera singer, as we wear a Nuremberg always bag with 𝗋𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 having each way play on Night Sparkle Pontus to make magic memories. Happy Galway, happy King George, and happy Goodwood. Be lucky.